What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. Here on this channel, just a little bit of a preface, I'm going to try and help you get in the garage and start building your hot rods and custom cars and cool vehicles of your dreams, because not everybody has a whole lot of cash to put into their cars, but they all dream of owning a show-worthy car, and I want to help you get to that. Because if you're like me, you got way too many projects, not enough time, not enough cash, and let's face it, we want to collect all the hot rods we can. So let's do it. I want to help you start smarter with some smaller projects, like this Celica that I have that we'll be working on today. I actually bought this one as a parts car. So with that, I'm going to pull a whole bunch of stuff off of this that I need for that one, because my bad, I let that one sit outside for too long and fuel pump seized up, and there's other little problems that happen like sun rot, and I want to show you how to fix those in your own garage so that you can do it on the cheap. You can flip it and start making more money to get to your hot rod and be able to just dump that money into your hot rod and enjoy the crap out of it. So with that, let's start tearing this car down, get it cleaned up. There's a whole bunch of junk in it that I don't need, and I just need to get it out of the way so I can get the fuel pump, the scrapers, and other components off of this car. So let's do it. When working on your projects, make sure you create some sort of list, some sort of goal, because if you don't have a goal, there's no point in going forward. You need to have something that's going to drive you, something that's going to get you there. So it's very important to have the list, but at the same time, don't become overwhelmed. Because as soon as you start making a list, you're going to be like, holy crap, look at all this stuff I have to buy, or look at all this stuff I have to do yet. Take it one step at a time. You're going to get there. So just focus on the here and now. Take it one day at a time, one item at a time, and you'll get there. So don't focus on the overall picture just yet. Just make it happen. Get out in the garage and start doing, because that's how progress is made. Start by pulling a whole bunch of this stuff out. Like I said, it's a parts car at the end of the day, so I'm not too worried about interior or any of that other kind of stuff. This car's been obviously with a broke window for a while, so I just want to kind of clean it up, get rid of the nasty. Don't you just love it when people leave you a bucket of bolts, not labeled, nothing? I'm a huge fan. So the first thing I'm after, other than cleaning this car up, is the fuel pump. And on most small compact cars like this one, you can find the fuel pump under the rear seat. So you have to pull out some things to get under the rear seat. You're gonna have to pull it out so that you can get the fuel pump out of it. So you can see kind of what's going on in here. You don't have to have the fanciest tools and all the custom, you don't have to have a $10,000 toolbox full with $50,000 worth of tools to do most of this work that we do. I work at a custom shop myself, and I have a very nice set of tools at work, but at home it's hard to bring them home all the time, just because the idea of not having that tool to do my job at work is very difficult. So I want to show you how to get by with basic hand tools, and you know, there may be some things you need to purchase along the way, but ultimately I can show you how to save a lot of money. Pretty much everybody I know, they got a socket set, so you can take a lot of stuff apart with a socket set. One of the most important things when taking apart a car, label and pictures. If you don't take lots of pictures, you don't label baggies full of your parts, when you go to put this thing back together, just like someone did it here, you're gonna end up with a bucket of bolts and not a freaking idea where anything goes. If you have the opportunity, leave them in the hole they belong in, and then you'll have a better idea as well. But sometimes you can't leave a bolt there if you're painting it or whatever the case might be. So it's best to get yourself a baggie, write down what you're taking apart and where it came from, and if nothing else, snap a picture. Sometimes things will have all the same bolt, but one will be longer. Well, where did that longer bolt go? See how disgusting this car is? Yep. Next thing, the seats. In a lot of old cars, they either have to push back and release, or you just have to pull up pretty stoutly on the bottom of the seat, and it should pop up. Be able to get it out of the way. And now, you can see some wires running into this area, and this is where, like I said, on all your small compact cars, under the rear seat, there's going to be some form of this, where the fuel pump, sending unit, all that is going to be found in here. So let's get this popped off and get the fuel pump out of this. So this is going to have like your typical dum-dum, strip caulk, whatever you want to call it, holding this down. So you just kind of work around it, pry it up little by little. You don't want to pry it all up at one time and tear it up. If you're trying to keep it nice on this, I have a hard time doing it because I like to keep things nice. I don't need somebody asking me if my previous job was working in the meat department at Walmart. If you don't get that joke, it means the butcher. So like that, it's up. You can push this little rubber grommet down through the hole, give yourself some room, get this piece out of the way. There's your electrical connectors. There's also fuel lines. Some of these require a special tool, but sometimes you can get by with things like screwdrivers and picks. But like I said, you have to be ginger with how you take them off. Don't just get angry and force it, because you'll start breaking stuff. You do not want to break stuff. So slow and steady always wins the race when it comes to this kind of fragile stuff that's never been off the car. You probably can't see this, but there is your return and your supply. The return is just held in with a keeper. So it's a little orange thing, you just have to slide it straight back out of the way. Careful not to lose it. It will go down too far. And sometimes things just disappear into the black hole, the abyss that is cars and their magical dark holes that they can slide into. So that little tab slides out, got some fuel pressure on it still, and like that, it's out of the way. Next will be the supply, and it's got a pressure fitting. So there's two tabs that push into it on both sides. You have to release those, and they make different specialty tools to release it. But like I said, you could sometimes go with a pick, grab both sides and flare it out. But I knew I'd be working on it this weekend, so I brought them home from work. So on this, it's got a bunch of screws around to lock the sending unit itself down, there's 7 bolts that gotta come off. So let's get those yanked off and out of the way. I lied, there's 8. Let's give it a little wiggle. There's a little lockdown or hold down plate. And then the sending unit fuel pump assembly. That should slide out. Just like that. The one I just pulled out of the other silica is actually froze up. So this would get stuck. And that's a lot of times, if your float gets too saturated with fuel, you know, after too many years of use, it will also get stuck down and it will no longer read as your gas gauge. So this is definitely one of the first places to consider looking if your fuel gauge isn't working. Next thing I need to pull off of this car is the window scrapers. So, show you how to do that. Oftentimes door panels are just held on with plastic pushing clips and screws. So always check little hidden compartments in the door. There's sometimes a little panel you can find to peel off. So when taking door panels apart, sometimes like pieces like this will be removable, or there's hidden compartments, like for example, anytime that there's a door pull behind it, pry it out, there's a screw in there. Probably 9 times out of 10 that has to come off in order for your door panel to come off. So always be aware of little hidden gems that will keep your door panel on there and keep you confused. So once you get all your screws, your hardware out, it'll lift off. You gotta be careful because there's cables still attached to the handle, and they just rotate forward till there's a place that they'll come out of the hook, and you're done. That's out of the way. Hondas are especially tricky as far as this door scraper goes. You have to be pretty careful because you will break them, bend them in half. So you're gonna have to pull the mirror off. Luckily, somebody's already done that for me because it wedges underneath there. There's a screw here at this end. You should be able to lift them up. Like I said, there's a specific tool on Hondas, a release tool that goes between the window and allows you to release the tabs. It's oftentimes a lot easier if you can roll down the window. So you find where the regulator's plugged in that makes it go up and down. And you can usually grab one side or the other. You give power hot to one side, ground to the other, it'll go up, and vice versa. So if it's going the wrong direction, you can turn it around and it should go down. So get this unhooked here, pull my power probe out. It'll also work if you just have jumper leads off of a battery. You don't need any fancy tools. So all you need is a battery, a couple jumper leads, hopefully you can get it to stick on there. If not, do this number. Make sure the leads aren't touching. You don't want to smoke the motor. Give it a shot. Just so happen to be the right way, and bam, like that. Window rolls right down. So like I said, just have to figure out which end it's going to come up easier from. For me, I think it's to the front. You just give it a nice good lift. You got to be careful at the back where it was bolted on, because that tab lays over, so you're gonna just roll it towards the tab so it doesn't rip off or break off. Because sometimes these can be extremely fragile and we don't want to break them if we're trying to save them, which I am. So go ahead and get the other side done and move on to the next thing. We'll do the same trick on this side. We'll go ahead and use the battery and roll the window down out of the way. You just have to find your window regulator wires. Usually they're 2 thicker wires. Get your leads and power down. So like I said, make sure they're not touching. You don't want to burn up a regulator motor. But these little alligator clips work really well. So you can shove them one way or the other and make sure that they're not touching down in there. And grab your battery. And you can roll your window right now. And this works on lots of different applications. It's a nice, easy way to go about doing things. Especially if you don't have the keys to the car. We can get to the scraper now. One screw in the back. And just lift up from the front, kind of rolling it out. And then at the back, like I said, remember there's that tab. You don't want to break it off. Like that. And you have your window scraper. So that's pretty much it for the Celica as far as the parts I was going to pull off of it that I need for the silver one. So I'll get everything kind of cleaned back up, thrown in here. I pulled off some other engine parts that made it worth it. And I actually don't know the status of this motor. I imagine it runs, but it's just one of those things that I needed the parts now. It was cheaper to go ahead and buy the whole car rather than piecemeal it together with parts off the internet. So go ahead and get this car out of the garage, get the other one in here, and start putting it back together, getting it running. That's first priority whenever building something. Get it mechanically sound. You don't want to put a whole bunch of money into paint and body and it to not run and drive. So always, always, always make sure that it runs and drives first, that you're happy with how it performs, all of that, because paint and body is the next step. You can enjoy the car with it looking crummy, but you can't enjoy a car that runs crummy. Get the other car in here. We'll start tackling it, like I said, mechanically first. Get it back up, running, driving where I'm happy with it. And then we'll get to the paint and body. There's some issues on it that I'm going to show you how to fix. I want to just give a huge shout out to my buddy Hayden Clark, and go check out his channel. I'll leave a link in the description. And we'll see you next time.